which of these three would be the closest dupe to this one. Hi everyone, how are you guys doing today? Recently, this Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer has gained a lot of popularity. People seem to love this primer. However, for 20 grams of product, it costs you a good $52, which is really expensive for just primer. There are 3 different NYX primers that have been recommended as a possible dupe. The NYX Soft Focus Primer, which is very, very similar in its appearance. It comes in this compact pan. It retails for $10 and you get 6 grams of product in here. The next one is NYX Angel Veil Primer, which retails for $15.99. You get 30 ml or 1.02 flow ounces in here. And the NYX Pore Filler Primer retails for $14 and you get 20 ml or 0.67 flow ounces in here. So I decided to do side-by-side comparisons, and today I'm going to tell you guys what my thoughts are on this super expensive Tatcha primer and which of these 3 NYX primers do I think is a true dupe for the Tatcha primer. We will also briefly look at the ingredients and see if the Tatcha primer kind of justifies the very, very, very expensive price point. I hope you guys are interested. So this is what the Tatcha Silk Canvas looks like. Initially, it came with a tiny little disc that I was supposed to use to kind of scoop out the product, which I seem to have misplaced. I have been just going in this with my finger, which is definitely not my favorite way of using any product. I don't like it when I have to use my fingers to pick up a product from this open pan, you know, because it can get dirty. But since primer is usually the very first step I do before any of the color products, I'm okay with that because most of the time my hands are clean. So this is what it looks like. On my skin, it does leave a slight white tint, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Even after I blend it out, I still feel like it does leave a white kind of an effect on my skin. This is what the NYX Soft Focus Primer looks like in the pan. I'm guessing you're supposed to use it with the provided puff, but again, I have only been using it with my fingers. As you can see, this is not as dense in the pan and it melts easier or quicker with the touch or maybe the heat of my finger. And when I apply it, I feel like it doesn't have that same white base. So in that sense, I do like it better. Now the Angel Veil Primer, you know, comes out as white, and then when I blend it, similar to the Tatcha primer, it has that white cast. It has even more of the white cast compared to the Tatcha primer. And finally, the Pore Filler Primer, in my opinion, has a color very, very similar to the Soft Focus Primer. It definitely has lesser oily feeling compared to the Soft Focus Primer, and I believe that it has more pore blurring abilities. It also has a little bit of the silicone-y feel to it, like the Smashbox standard primers, but not as much. Once it is on the skin though, it just kind of vanishes and it doesn't leave that slick feeling on your face. However, initially it does have that slight silicone feeling. In terms of ingredients, the Tatcha Silk Canvas claims to have 3 different forms of silk in it. It has hydrolyzed silk, it has silk powder, and I could not find what the 3rd form of silk was. It has some skin benefiting ingredients such as Camellia sinensis leaf extract or rice ferment extract, squalane, which is supposed to be good in plumping your skin, some yeast extracts and such, Hade seed 3 complex, which is supposed to be good for anti-aging effects. It has titanium dioxide and tin oxide in it, which kind of explains the white tint that I'm experiencing. The NYX primers in comparison have a pretty short ingredient lists. The Soft Focus Primer has isononyl isonate, aluminum starch, ozokerite silica, sunflower seed oil, argan oil. So that kind of explains why it has that more of an oily feel to it. Now the Angel Veil Primer has a bunch of dimethicone variants like the cyclopentasiloxane, isododecane, cyclohexasiloxane and such, and it does have titanium dioxide as well, and that's why I'm getting the white tint on my skin. And the Pore Filler Primer starts with dimethicone silica, dimethicone cross polymer, isododecane, hexadodecane, cyclopentasiloxane. So again, a whole bunch of different variants of dimethicone or silicone oil. This one is supposed supposed to have titanium dioxide as well. However, for me at least, I'm not noticing that. I'm definitely noticing the white tint with the Angel Veil Primer and a little bit with the Silk Primer. Now I have just taken an average eyeshadow and just kind of gone over all of the primers, and I do feel like it is sticking a little bit better wherever I had the Tatcha Silk Primer. I'm not noticing any difference, between skin versus wherever I had the NYX Soft Focus Primer. The Angel Veil Primer has left a very, very definite white strip on my hand, and that is helping kind of enhance the color a little bit better. And I think the color is also sticking very well wherever I had the Pore Filler Primer compared to the NYX Soft Focus Primer. So in terms of using them over your lids, I feel like except for the Soft Focus Primer, all the other primers are doing pretty well. All right, so what are my final thoughts? I think this one does do a great job in terms of minimizing your pores and kind of minimizing your frown lines or smile lines and things like that. So it is a good primer. You get a lot of quantity in here. You get 20 grams as opposed to 6 grams for $10. So basically, if you were to get the same size as the Tatcha Primer, you would end up paying about $33. Now, the Soft Focus Primer, I felt like didn't do as much of the pore minimizing. However, it did blur out some of the imperfections. I do like that it is slightly on the oilier side because I have extremely dry skin. So it was a bit more hydrating on my skin compared to the Tatcha Primer. It felt more comfortable on my skin. It does not claim that it's a pore minimizer. So it basically does what the name says. It just kind of brings like a softer focus to your face. I also like the fact that it doesn't have the slight white tint that the Tatcha Primer seems to give. So if you are a younger person with dry skin, which probably means that you don't have as many lines or imperfections or enlarged pores on your face, I would recommend NYX Soft Focus Primer for you compared to Tatcha Primer, especially if you're a person of color. The next thing I tried was the Angel Veil Primer. Now both of these give the slight white tinge to your face. I honestly did not think that this did that great a job in terms of minimizing the pores. I did feel like they kind of worked equally in terms of minimizing the smile lines. However, the white tinge is more on the Angel Veil Primer. When I had first tried it in the store on the back of my hand, I was very, very amazed and I really liked it. That's why I had purchased it in the first place. However, without any moisturizer underneath, they both did kind of weird white patchiness on my face. This one did more than the Tatcha Primer. So if you're a person of color with dry skin, I would say stay away from this one. If you are younger, light-skinned with oily skin, this primer will probably work better for you. The Pore Filler Primer, I felt like I liked the texture of this primer the best among all the primers, even better than the Tatcha Silk Primer. This one is not as oily or hydrating, you can say, like the Soft Focus Primer. However, it was definitely kind of more hydrating than these two. I felt nice on my face when I had this one on. Even with titanium dioxide as one of the ingredients in here, it does not give you the white cast on your face. Did it do as much of the pore minimizing as the Tatcha Silk Primer? It didn't, sadly. And given that you only get 20 mls for about $14, it's not the cheapest on the market, but at the same time, it's not as hefty a price to pay as this $52 primer. I think you do get smaller sizes of the Tatcha Primer. I don't remember the price of the smaller container off the top of my head. I'll put it on the screen here. If you want to try that one, I would say definitely buy that. Even if you want to use this primer, I would say buy the smaller size because a little goes a long way. You definitely don't need as much of the primer as you would need with the other three. It actually is very kind of hard to just spread around your face as well. You just need to kind of press it into your pores, press it into your problem area. You need very, very small amount. I definitely don't like the shape of of the container that where you need to kind of reach in with your fingers, where it can get dirty. So I would highly recommend picking up the smaller size. That way once it gets dirty, you can just toss it, and you're not putting as much money up front. You're not waiting for the product just sitting at your place going bad. So definitely go with the smaller size. If you are a person with medium to dry skin who has some imperfections, little bit of enlarged pores, then the pore filler primer will work for you. I'm glad that it'll work for any skin tone because it does not give you the white mask effect. In terms of eyeshadow primer, I felt like these two work the best. This one would be my next choice if you were to, just use the same primer over your lids. This honestly didn't do anything over your lids. If you have even normal or normal to oily eyelids, I would not recommend this primer on your lids. It'll end up creasing your eyeshadows more. I'm doing a complete matte look today. If you have seen my previous videos, you know that I end up getting slight creasing, settling into creases as day progresses. Today is a really, really cold day. I have been sitting in front of the heater actually because I'm that cold. So, it could have aided in that, but I think this primer is helping in kind of reducing any oil leakage or any, oiliness. I think I might have normal to oilier lids, even though my skin is really, really dry. And now which one of these three would be the closest dupe to this one? I would say neither, because honestly speaking, this is a whole different primer. All these four primers are completely different from each other. Maybe the Angel Veil primer comes the closest but does not do as much blurring. The pore filler primer does a lot more blurring than the Angel Veil or the NYX Soft Focus, but definitely not as much as the Silk primer. The Silk that is in here definitely does kind of help you blur more of the pores, but the titanium dioxide gives you the slight white mask. This one is good for dry skin. Those are my thoughts. Let me know in the comments if you felt like one of these three primers does work as a dupe for the Tatcha Silk Primer based on the wear test I just showed you. If you have used any of these three primers and the Tatcha Silk Canvas Primer and you feel like, they are dupes, let me know so as well. I always love to hear from you guys. Thank you again for joining me. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I hope you consider subscribing and ringing the bell before you leave. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.